evening, wherever you might be. My name is Sean. I'm delighted you joined us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today I'm joined by Nuck Fearon's MVP, who will cover Automate the Essentials 10 SharePoint Online workflows you can't miss. We love hearing you guys have to say, so remember to join in conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC underscore community and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC25. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which updates the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Data Security SharePoint with Aman Kumar, MVP. This webinar will take place tomorrow, Friday, October 24th, at 11 a.m. CST. For more information on this webinar, please check out www.sharepointeurope.com/webinars. Celebrate SharePoint Week with an exclusive ESPC offer. In honor of SharePoint Week, we're thrilled to unveil a special limited time promotion for ESPC. The first 10 new bookings will receive an extra €500 discount on top of the current late bird ticket price. Simply use the code SharePoint Week Special at checkout. This exclusive offer is our way of celebrating the SharePoint community's continued innovation, collaboration, and impact across the Microsoft ecosystem. Don't miss out. This promotion is valid only for new bookings made before October 31st or until 10 discounted places are claimed. Secure your spot today and be part of Europe's premier Microsoft 365 AI and Azure conference taking place in Dublin this December. After the webinar, we'll have a questions and answer session. Type any questions you might have into the chat box. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it's available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Anuk. Hello, Anuk. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me today. All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me today and in this world of learning. Today, I'm going to talk about the 10 SharePoint online workflows you can't miss to optimize your working. My slogan is work more efficient, not harder. Work smarter, not harder, because nobody wants to do more work. Why do we do it? We can just automate a lot of things, and that is what we are going to try to do today. So, a little bit about myself. I am Anouk Vierens, living in Belgium, and I've been working with SharePoint for the last 14 years. So I started still on the on-premises and moved on. The last 2 years, I am being awarded with a Microsoft MVP title. I also have a podcast together with Steve Dalby, where I bring business and IT together. So everything what we discuss here are the topics we discuss in our podcast. So check it out. All right. I'm going to start off with a story, and that story everybody will know. I was working with a customer, and he had 7 different versions of his car policy. So nobody knew which version was actually approved by the management and which version was the one that they needed to work on. And they named their version something like final, underscore final, underscore final definitive. We all know this kind of things because people don't think about how to automate those approvals and make sure that people know which is the right car policy that they need to follow. And that's why I thought we can do this more efficient. We need to change something for this company so that they know where they are, what they do. And start thinking Power Automate could fix a lot of these things for them. So we start working on it. And that's already the first workflow I will take you guys with today. It's a document approval flow. We all know the fact that sometimes you need to have a document that is being approved by the management or by your manager directly. But how do we do it? Not always going directly by mail and sending your manager an email, but with going to Power Automate. So I've built a document approval flow. And as you can see, it doesn't need to be a very complex flow to do it. It can be quite easy. Quite easy, I mean, you need to get the manager of the person or starting for approval. And I built something in that it's updating it in the process itself. So whenever it's approved, it will update the properties, or when it's declined, it will update the properties of the SharePoint itself. How does that look when we are going to SharePoint? When somebody is adding a document and set the status to send for approval, the approval will start. And my manager was getting an approval request in Teams. He can approve, he can decline. In this case, it was being approved. We go back to SharePoint, we see a status pending, and it goes to approved. So people can see the documents that are approved. Is this the best approach? For this customer, it was. Probably it can be that you need to have different kind of approvals, but that's perfect. We can build around them. All right. Another thing that I receive a question about a lot is we have a news report and we have a SharePoint website, and every department needs to be able to put in news on the homepage, but not without going to marketing or communications. So again, we built something with Power Automate. This time we went a little bit more complex because I had some options added. I had a list with approvers so people can see who can approve, and communications and marketing can add people to it. Easy if people come or go to your company or leaving and all of that. Then they want to have a follow-up for the end users. We have the follow-up in Power Automate itself, but not all of the users are able to go there. So we had and created our own list where we can have our follow-up with information that is in here. Why it's being declined, or why it's not approved, or who did it, when was it, is it already approved, or is it still open? And this way, people could follow more and could reach out to the right persons if needed. My flow was a little bit more complex, but even then it was still able to do everything what we need when an item was created or modified. This one is a little bit special because we have trigger condition in here. It needed to be a promoted state 2. It needed to be a 0.0 version, so a major version, and the approval status was new or declined. So when it was declined, it needed to go to the approvement again. And the label on my page needs to be home page. So we had a news category label. When it was not home page and it was for their own department site, the approval was not needed, or the push was not needed. Again, we are working here with our approvals and we are updating our lists. And also when we were done, we were updating 2 lists and changing items. After this, we create one more item in it, and we send out an email with a decline to the end user to say, hey, your news item is declined, check out why. So people knew. Another question that I get a lot or workflow is, remind me before with specific dates. And I did this time with a rule. Why a rule? It's a lot easier than Power Automate. So sometimes you can do easy steps on basic steps with rules or other tools. You don't always need to go to Power Automate. So on my side, in my documents library, I created it a column review date. And based on this review date, I need to have 5 days or 1 day before that date an email sent out to me that is some documents that needs to be reviewed. SharePoint has the fact when you click in a document library, go to automate, you have rules. You can create a rule or manage a rule. If you create a rule, a date approach, and here you can say enter the numbers of days. So let's say 10 days. Before choose a column, we have the review date, and then we can add in information. If you have multiple persons fields in your SharePoint list, you can choose all of them. Because I don't have them here, I can see the modified by, created by, or just send it to me. Or I can start typing a name of somebody in the organization, and that person will receive the emails, which is easier than creating a Power Automate flow, and this can be done by everybody in your organization. The rule will apply to every document for everyone, but if it is about reviewing documents, I don't think that will be a big issue for a lot of people. And of course, if you have created it, you can always manage your rules, turn them on or off, or just make some changes or delete a rule. Quite easy in use and end user friendly. So, how often do we create Microsoft Forms application in your organization? I do it quite a lot because a form is quite easy to get information from people. But for following it up, going to forms always, download the Excel or check the answer in forms is not that easy. And that's something a lot of people don't want to do. So I receive a lot of the question, can we go and do that in SharePoint? Yes, we can send the answers to SharePoint when somebody is filling it in. Even when the person filling it in is not from your organization, you still can get the answers in SharePoint. Why would you do it? You have a lot of more options to review, to get some reports on it, to have more luxury that all users can check the answers. You don't need to share the form with somebody that is able to make changes if you don't want that. So it's giving you flexibility. This flow is quite easy. It's just 3 steps in this case. So when a response is submitted, and there we are saying to which flow it is. So you need to be the owner of the flow, or your team needs to be owner of the flow if you want to do it to a specific form. Then we need to get the response details, and then we need to create an item, and then we just need to map them. And the mapping of the items, it seems hard, but if you work with correct names in your SharePoint list, it's quite easy. And this works easy enough. The difficult part in this is when it starts to get with some attachments. When you have a form where you can upload items, it will be harder to do, but still possible. Only not when working with external people then, because the external people cannot upload files in a form. Save email attachments in SharePoint. Something else I get questions about a lot. So if you're working, your company receives 100 emails and none of the attachments can be lost. This is something you can do. It's personal, so you can't do it for somebody else. So every user needs to do it himself. So maybe not the best approach. If you are working alone and you want to do it to SharePoint or to your OneDrive, quite easily. And it helps. So when an email arrives, and I already say only or just do it when there are attachments included. So the other emails are not being monitored. And then for each attachment, we get the attachments and we create a file. By creating the file, we need to have the file content. And this is what people sometimes struggle with. You need to get the content bytes from the attachments that you have here, because otherwise it will not fill in your file. But if you then start running this, it goes quite easily. You don't need to check, you don't need to go on it. Just send out an email and wait for it. You will see that my attachments, that there are 3, and if I go back to my list, the 3 attachments are there. Quite happily with already some predefined metadata that I have. Another one that I personally like a lot is sending Teams messages when a document is added. In also our libraries, we work with documents, but not all of your team members will go into the document library every single time. They maybe don't open it for 5-6 days. So how do they know when there is a new document added? You have the option to post it in a specific channel that you have. So in this case, I posted in my training team, in the general channel, and I said, there is a new document added. And I made the choice to go into a little development mode here to make sure that the name of my document, BP instructions in this case, was also a link. That it gives you the opportunity for your users to go on an easy way to the document. If they click on it, they open the document directly, which is always better than sending them to a SharePoint list and let them search there for their document. Create a to-do from a new document. When we add documents in SharePoint, sometimes you do it because you don't have time to process the documents already, and a to-do needs to be created. It's personal for you, it's in your own private to-do list, but there is a workflow for it. In Power Automate, you can easily do it. SharePoint is still your basics for all of it. You don't need to manually do it. Let the tools work for you. So if we go here, it's an easy workflow, just 2 steps. When a file is created, only on the create item we are going to do this, then we say edit to do, and we can fill in information what we want here. And it's actually coming in your to-do list, and you can choose the list where it goes through. In this case, I use the demo list to show it to people, and then they see the value of it. So again, when uploading a document, we just upload it, and then if we go to the workflow, we see it runs. If we go to our to-do, we see the documents are in here in our demo tasks. Quite easily, no big deal. Can you do this for somebody else? Then you should be able to, but it will always be to your to-do if you create it for yourself. If somebody else created it, it will always go to that to-do. Just to make sure, be aware of it, and don't try to do it on a higher level. If you want to do something like this and it needs to be for the team, then I suggest you start moving planner instead of to-do. This one is actually a quite nice one, because how often do you get the question, I have users that needs to add documents to SharePoint, but they are not allowed to go in those document libraries to edit them. They can add but not edit them. And often the users don't know in which library we need to put them. In the past, there was a drop-off library, and we are creating something like that ourselves. So what's happening? If I go to my home site, I have a drop-off library. And if I put a document in here, I want it to move to my documents library based on the metadata that is filled in. In my case, I start using that with marketing. So in my condition, I say if my department value is equals to marketing, then move my file. Otherwise, don't move it. If you have multiple departments where you want to have a document library like this, you can work with the switch condition instead of an if condition. And then it will check based on what information you have. Do you need to move them to the same site? No. You can move them to a different site, or you can move them just different libraries in the same site. That's what I've chosen of. The catch here is to make sure file to move, you have your URL. This backslash needs to be in there. If you forget it, it will go in error. So just if you see errors like that, then you know that you need to put the backslash in there. The errors will help you. They will explain what you can do, and then they will work.
And look, there's just a question on what you reckon on. Can it move files between sites?
Yes, it can move files between sites, but the user that are the workflow account where you are working on needs to have the access on both sides, needs to have edit rights.
Perfect.
This is actually a quite nice one to use and based on metadata. The move option in SharePoint itself does it also for you, but then you need to do it manually. Automatic metadata tagging. We all want this. And I know with AI, we can now do a lot. But before we had AI, this was one of the workflows that I was creating most. So people were saying, if my name starts with IT or my name starts with marketing, my document needs to move to a space, or my document needs to get that label. And we can do this, and it's quite easy to go there. Because we can easily say this condition when an item is added or modified. But that's also a risk with this one, because you can create a continuous loop if you don't do your condition right in this case. So I said my name starts with IT and my department value is empty. So once my department value is filled in, it doesn't need to do it anymore. If I want to expand this and I want to change my department value in the name, then I need to make sure that I build in a condition where I say my department value is empty or my department value is not the same like this part. And then you don't have that continuous loop. The risk in Power Automate and the risk in everything we do in SharePoint is that we create continuous loops and the flow keeps running and running and running and running and running. And that's something we don't want to have. We want to be sure that it's just doing it once. My personal favorite, copy SharePoint pages. I don't know if you noticed, but if you go to a SharePoint page library, In a document library, you have the options, if you select one, to say move. Copy to, you can copy, but it can only be in your same site. I cannot go to another site. And that's not what we want. I want to be able to move it to different sites. Why I want to do it? I give a lot of companies the flexibility to build page templates on a template site. And then from there on, I want to publish these templates to all of my sites in my intranet. And I can't do it with the interface. So I created a workflow that is doing it for me. It's a manually workflow. I need to start it manually, to manually trigger, but it does get the file properties of a document. And this is my source site URL. And that's in my trigger. I set in my trigger, get the source site URL, get the destination site, and get the page title. I should change this and I should go to page name, because if I work with space and all of that, it doesn't work correctly in this case, but I didn't change it yet. And then I loop over all of my pages. In this case, I do all of the pages, but if I want to do it with a template only, I would also already say get files that I only go in that specific folder, because templates are always in a specific folder. And then I can copy file to destination. I do some compose checks just for my own debugging. And then I say, all right, if my title is equals to the page title that I set, then I'm going to do something. And I'm going to copy the file. And with the Power Automate copy file, I can indeed copy easily pages, which I'm not able to do in the interface, which helps a lot of organization. So if we want to, all right, run this, I go back here. And let's say we have this page on a specific site, and I want to copy it. So I copy my URL. I don't like to type in everything, so I copy paste a lot. And I'm going here for a run. This run can also be done of the app on your computer.
Hi, Enoch. There's just a question there on what you're working on as well. Will the site assets to the pages follow along?
Yes, they follow. So it's going to give you everything what you need to have in your page, which is quite nice, actually. So I can show you that page. If I go here, site content, site pages. You see my header is here and all of the rest is still here as well. This was a quite basic page, but if you make it more complex, it will all be in there. So this is actually the easiest way to copy them. And I think it will help a lot for a lot of people. All right.
Another one on what you're working on, sorry. Can you
No
also set
problem.
the page as the home page?
You would be able to if you want to, but then you need to have a trigger, and then you need to actually do an API call to set this as a home page. So you need to extend your workflow for it. All right. We went through these workflows quite fast, but let's have a little time on it. So these are the 10 workflows that we covered and that I think that are very important to do. Maybe your organization does it kind of different, but for me, a document approval is something that you can't miss because every organization has documents that needs to get approved by a manager or by the management. The page publishing, like the news that you want to publish on the homepage, but needs to get into a process of reviewing and being published on the right place, is also something that we lack to have and that is being asked by a lot of companies. The review reminder. I've now done it with a rule, but before rules, we did it with Power Automate ourselves. And then we had more calculation, and what was more complex, they now simplified this for us. The save answers from forms to SharePoint or to something else to actually work with that information in your other data. You can have a lookup to your list where you have your forms answers or anything like that. So it gives the people more flexibility and more sustainability to do their work correctly. Saving email attachments is more for your personal use than organization-wide, but by saving them on a SharePoint, on a OneDrive, you are able to do more with them and to have more metadata, labels, and anything connected to them, which makes it easier for you to work with your documentation. Teams notifications, notifying let your team know that you have done something or added something is important. Okay, we have Microsoft Teams and a lot of companies work with it. Perfect. But you still have a lot of companies working directly on SharePoint where they don't have that default notification anymore. Now alerts are going on retirement. Creating a to-do task for yourself is so easy and it helps you to do your work and not forget anything. We all have a lot of post-its hanging around, laying around with tasks we wrote down in the past. To-do is there to help you. It integrates with SharePoint, it makes it nice and easy. Moving documents based on metadata. Very nice to be able to do that and to go with it and do that movement. Auto metadata tagging, automatically tags your documents, is such a help for a lot of people. A lot of people still don't know how to work correctly with metadata and they do not fill it in. But the power of it is there and it will help you when you fill it in if you are going to AI. And archiving old documents or pages by moving them helps you as well. And if you want to go more complex, then you can start doing workflows that are a lot bigger. You can have a workflow that get page informations, send it to AI translator in Azure and translate your pages directly. So if you have a company that is multilingual, this will help you. But as you can see, the complexity builds up. So before we are going there, be aware that you know what you are doing in here. And be aware that people knows the basics of SharePoint to start working with it before going and start making things complex. As you can see, these are not the best created workflows. This is my test environment, and I'm not doing it like we should do. This is an option. It's not an option. It's something when I go to production environment, I do make sure that I name everything correct. Naming is so important in this because Compose 7 doesn't say anything to anyone. While we name this, it does. It's part of your documentation as well. As we go to SharePoint workflows, always go to the templates and search for SharePoint, because this will give you a lot of information that you already are able to do. It's the start of. So in here, copy files from one SharePoint Online account or folder to another. You can even move it cross-tenant if needed. I'm not suggesting you should, but it's there. You have all of these options and you can do a lot of it. But this is all nice, but it all starts with SharePoint. Your SharePoint structure needs to be correct, needs to be set up correctly, totally, because any changes in the SharePoint structure, like adding columns, when you do automated tagging, it means you need to update your workflow as well. So before starting there, be aware that that your basic is correct. It all starts with the basics. So for me, SharePoint is my base, and I get there and I do whatever I need. And Power Automate is my help to get more work done, to work smarter, and to keep everybody satisfied. I saw that there were a lot of questions coming up in the chat during my talk. So is there any workflow you want to go into detail and want to have more information of? So for the help files that I saw, yes, there are, because the template's already giving you a lot of information.
Someone said the move page flow.
The move page flow, all right. I've closed it down, but it's not this environment. So copy SharePoint pages to a different site. Let's see what we need to do when we run it. If I click run, I receive this question and I receive my source site URL. So the site from where I want to start moving my page to another location. Then I need to have the destination URL, site URL. Where do I want to save it? Where do I want to have it? And then I have my page title. So what is the one that I need to move? You can also create it with ID, with a unique ID, but then your end users needs to know how to get that unique ID. If I go in edit mode of my flow, I have my manually trigger. When I create a manually trigger, I'm able to set up these questions. I can even say enter this or enter that so that people know what they need to fill in. It's a little bit like search for help resources here. We can do the same thing. And then we get files properties. In this case, I go to all document libraries, to the site pages library, go to all files and loop over them. If you are asking here, not page title, but page ID, and then you can go directly to that specific file. So that are changes you can do. For the site URL, you set the source site address, library name, site pages. And then we say for each page that we have in our site pages library, I want to get the body value. This is actually the XML behind a page that we read. And then we say we do a check for the title. just so we are knowing that the title is there and that we can check on it. This compose was a test, and that's just giving the current item back. Still too much information. Condition, my title of the page is the same as title set on run. So my output here, my check title of the page, is equal to my page title. If that is the case, I need to have the ID of that page, because without the ID, I can't do my move. I save the ID in this compose. I tried with the end identifier, but it didn't work. And then I say copy file. This is copy file. File to destination is what I put behind it, but this is your action in SharePoint. In Power Automate, I say my site address, my source site URL again. And here I say site pages title.espx. This is not correctly, because if you have the title is different than the page name, you are having issues. So this needs to be optimized in this case. I have my destination site URL, and I go back to the site pages. And then I have the option to, if another file is already there, replace, copy with a new name, or fail this action. If you copy it in with a new name, it follows the defaults of SharePoint. Fail this action, then you get an error and it says, hey, don't go there. But in my case, I said replace. If I go back here and I go to the runs that I did earlier today to test, then I will see my first compose here. If I go to the output, then I get all of this. And then I need to find where is the information that I need. If I do it for the same for title, then I only see this, the title of that page. And then it's going to check if it is equals and then go through it. I know this was number 50, not 150, but 50. And then you see it's all green, it goes here, and it's a copy file to destination. It's a quite basic workflow, quite easy to start off with. I will share this by my blog post. So if people want to recreate this, I will make sure that I have all of the workflow in there with all of the components explained so that you can start recreating it and play around with it in your organization. Are there any more questions about, or what are the other questions in the chat that I missed?
So the first one is, are there help files available to try and recreate these flows?
The flows that I created, no, because I created them from scratch. But of course, if you go to Power Automate itself and go to the templates here, you have a lot of help information. Let's say that we want to notify me when there is a response. If I click on it, then actually this is creating the workflow for you. You need to give them permissions and then sign in, and with signing in, and then the workflow is being created for you. So you don't need to do it yourself. It's there already. Another help is, of course, into Power Automate Learn, which guides you to Microsoft Learn, where you can find a lot of information of.
Perfect. The next question is, can you attach SharePoint files to a planner task?
You cannot directly task the files to the planner task, but you can, of course, include an URL to that specific task. in the description in Planner.
Perfect. So the next question is, would it be so kind and briefly describe the logic after you get item details and list of group members?
And in which workflow were we?
Oh, I think,
Yeah, the copy page flow, was it the same as the archive document flow that was mentioned? It's based on the same logic.
okay,
So
perfect.
I didn't create the archive, but it's the same logic. So you can recreate it for the archive. I was trying to find the other one, the logic of the. I'm guessing not a to do. No. The person that asked that question for the logic, can they please set in which
Yeah,
where it
Jan.
was?
I don't know if they're online anymore. It looks like they're not online. Jan
Yeah.
Klaska. Yeah. I'll just go on to the next question, will I? So hey, can I have a question regarding the approval process in PA? Would it be possible to have an approval process for a SharePoint list item, which must be approved not by my manager, but by a small group of people? Example, enter group of 3 to 4 people and approval must be given by all of them to be approved, no matter in which sequence the approvers will answer. Just some hint would be nice. Thank you.
Yes. So I'm now going to use the page approval because it's the same in there. If I go to that logic of my approval, I have here create an approval. I'm going to add a new one. Do not change the logic that I have. You can directly start and wait for an approval, but then you can change metadata in between or create an approval. It's the same logic, but you have an approval type. Approve, reject, everyone must approve, or first to respond. So if you are doing it for a small group, you can say everyone must approve or reject. And then you get all of this and assign to. In here, you can then add the email addresses of that person, get information from a SharePoint list, and put it in here to have these people in there, or just add some groups in it. So this is giving you that option.
Perfect. Um, Perfect. Yeah, there's another question in. Was the copy page flow the same as the archive document flow that was mentioned?
It's based on the same logic, yes. The archive flow I didn't create, but it's based on the same logic that you can copy them and archive them. Put them somewhere where it's only read only or to another location at all.
Perfect. That looks like all the questions.
All right. Then I'm done a little bit earlier. I will share um, a few of these workflows. I will give you the information so you can share that with the other people.
Perfect. Are you sending me your slides? Is it enough? Do you want to
Yes,
send
I
me?
will
Yeah.
send the slides as well.
Perfect. I'll put them under the recording then for everyone to see. Yeah, so on behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you, Nook, for taking time out to carry this webinar. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So that's the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again for all of you for joining us today, and I hope you join us again soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye.